Hello everyone, my name is James, and today I'll be sharing what I learned about myself through the different personality and learning assessments. These tests gave me insight into how I think, lead, and learn. They also helped me reflect on what I need to work on to become a successful healthcare executive. I wanted to start with the emotional intelligence test. My results were 7s in both self-awareness and self-management, and 8s in social awareness and relationship management. These scores suggest that I'm generally in touch with my emotions, that I can manage myself in most situations, and that I'm strong in social settings and relationships. I do agree with these results. I feel confident in reading others' emotions, responding thoughtfully, and communicating clearly in both personal and professional settings. That being said, my scores in self-awareness and self-management show that I still have room to grow, especially in regulating my emotions and staying centered during high-stress moments. As a healthcare leader, these moments are inevitable. Staying calm, thinking clearly under pressure, and making decisions that affect people's lives is part of the job. The next test was the hemisphere dominance test. My total score was a 10, which means I use both sides of my brain in a fairly balanced way. I found it interesting that only 37% of test takers are more right brain dominant than I am. So while I'm not strongly skewed, I may lean slightly towards creative or conceptual thinking. This balance tells me that I can appreciate both structure and creativity. I can think logically and follow a plan, but I can also step back and look at the bigger picture. This is a strength in healthcare leadership because oftentimes we have to manage day-to-day operations while also thinking strategically about long-term goals, patient outcomes, and organizational growth. It also reminds me, though, that I need to keep strengthening both sides, being open and creative to problem solving while also staying grounded in data and facts. The next test was the Jungian Personality Assessment. According to this test, I'm an ESFJ, which means extroverted, sensing, feeling, and judging. I have a moderate preference for extroversion at 41%, and a slight preference for feeling over thinking at 19%, and even a smaller preference for judging over perceiving at 12%. I had almost no preference between sensing and intuition at only 3% difference. This profile describes someone who's warm, cooperative, and attentive to the needs of others, which definitely does sound like me. I'm someone who thrives in team environments, values structure, and likes to make people feel heard and supported. This is a good fit for healthcare leadership, where empathy and collaboration are so important. However, my low preference for intuition tells me that I may need to work on stepping back, seeing the bigger picture, and thinking more strategically in uncertain situations. The last test was the VARK Learning Style Assessment. My scores were oral 13, kinesthetic 8, visual 6, and reading and writing at 1. This means that I learn best by listening and discussing. I observe more when I'm in conversation, attending lectures, or listening to podcasts. Knowing this helps me a lot. I'll make sure to take advantage of audio-based learning, group study, and open discussions as I continue my education and development. It also reminds me that to lead effectively, I need to be an excellent listener, not just someone who hears, but someone who truly understands and responds. My takeaway to all these assessments and what I've learned from the reading is my biggest strengths are communication, emotional awareness, and the ability to build strong relationships. I believe I'm a team player, and I try to create positive, inclusive environments where people feel supported. My weaknesses include a tendency to pervert structure over flexibility, and at times relying more on emotions than data. To grow as a healthcare executive, I know I need to work on adaptability, critical thinking, and trusting my instincts, even when the path forward isn't clear. As far as my leadership style, I'd describe myself as a collaborative and supportive leader. I naturally take on a servant leader approach, focusing on how I can help others succeed. I also see the value in developing more adaptive leadership skills so I can lead, change, navigate ambiguity, and push forward innovation in a rapidly evolving healthcare system. These assessments gave me a clear picture of who I am right now and who I want to become. Thank you so much for watching and listening.